I have harmonica accompaniment and a kingdom for my king, but perhaps definitely one of the greatest harmonica players in the world, Amanda Ventura, plus other guitar players. And that's all. You begin the first chapter. Okay, a kingdom for my king. Chapter 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The king and his kingdom lived in a small room with a door that gave way to a hallway down a flight of stairs and out into a street, the sky above which he would pull down from so high above him and placing it into his pocket, turn right once he was without the rusty gate, and walking past a row of 5 or 6 shop fronts, stumbled through the doorway of the ruins of the ancient cathedral where within, amidst the fluttering window curtains, time was but an intangible dance of day and night. Oh yeah. Now the district police down the road a ways from where and within his room by him was kept had tricked him into playing out a hand of life's intangible quietudes, of commercing losses that would never in a million years find him living a profitable, honest, and richly enduring life. Never. It was just above the heights above as well as the depths below. The street where and within his chamber was set. Playing late until the nights. It seemed as if the prequel by tomorrows that gave way to following yesterdays. Oh my. The cathedral was thick with people widely varying occupations and places of origin and stamp. Oh, Hectographs. Hectographs and oblong objects that always seemed to lose vocality of essence, just as they solidified, drifting constantly through the air, whispered his name for the currents all around his person. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The personalities of the loafing, talking, and journal-reading townfolk inhabiting the cathedral were alternately obtuse of personage and widely animated in various postures. One man sat against a wall of red and white brick and talked with another for hours on end. Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he certainly most did. About the places he, years ago now, left behind to find himself lounging there within. There within. The king shared his room with a man in a pinstripe suit who, having knocked on his hallway door one fateful morning, carried an old-fashioned telephone booth inside, and planting himself inside it, talked on the phone night and day and night, to the goddesses of memory and forgetfulness. Yes, the goddesses of memory and forgetfulness. The king did not very much appreciate sharing what was back then his kingdom capital province with this man or his incongruent foes. And he told him so, and when he told him so, was immediately slapped across the face by the man. They rolled around on the floor a while, and the matter was settled. The king upped the next morning, and taking his kingdom elsewhere, found himself spending his days and nights in a room by a train station full of temporarily delayed travelers. Oh, yes. Traveling and kingdoming are an extremely difficult pair of taxidermy stuffed bowling pins to juggle when you have but a few $100 upon your person. So he decided to forego the day's breakfast and tearing in order that he may find he may find his sacred personage en route to the best possible kingdom, available to his thoughts, highly dignified train of antithetically self-congruent platitudes of whatever you have among you. The Deaconess of Dukeville, sitting herself down alongside him, whispered in his half-asleep ear, "Keep it short, sweet, and simple. You'll sit by the window, exactly where you are right now, whilst I take out my spinning needle and loom and lee myself a midnight shawl. Oh yeah. If either one of your hands begins drawing circles in the air, I'll react volcanically." Oh, she meant business. It was at this exact moment that the linear sequence of time was thrown into harmonious disarray, and 60 minutes took up 1 minute, while 60 seconds began enwombing within itself an entire hour. End of chapter 1. Now we proceed to chapter 2. The king and the deaconess realized themselves into a lumberously accelerated conversation concerning how the roots of etymological contrivances with such unsilverable dignities to the mind, heart, and soul, as great cities of sterling silvers and Henrietted golds were self-inhabited there within. And this new nonlinear approach to passing time placed the earth, sun, and moon all at once.
Are you ready to look up how you sound?
It's jangling, a funky. And this new nonlinear approach to passing time placed the earth, sun, and moon all at once, jangling a funky boot tambourine in not only the king's pocket, but as well under his unjet-laggable crown. As the train pressed onward in all 4 directions, the king and the deaconess fell asleep in one another's arms, and the twilight hour quickly returned the wide open fields to reinvented daylight. Then back into a gorgeously redundant twilight again. Every now and then a theater of swimming and various fish would drift past their doxably veined train window, and the deaconess crossing and uncrossing quite locomotively her slightly overweight yet beauteous legs. Dreamed as she and the king slept in one another's arms. Before advising the reader, or rather listener, about the girth, gambit, and get down to business cold wintering, and warmly besummering the deaconess's mighty fly cycle of nautically invested dreams, I must explain to the listener of this tale the gist of precisely what takes place in this so idiosyncratic methodology of time sequentiality, as befits the booted foot of prosaic idealism's philosophical thrift. All time passes in this particular format, more so than the way we imagine it to flow. This basic fact is determined to be just as factual as linear time has to be, where within the chicken as well as the egg both precede and succeed one another. When any form of earthly life comes to be illuminated by the idiomatically self-consequential investment by this idiomatically self-consequential, he or she is freed from whatever chains inhibited the virtues of their past from seeming much more like sins. I am not splitting hairs when I say this. No, I am not. Just as Thomas Edison's parents gave him birth gave Thomas Edison his parents. In other words, what succeeds the before precedes it as well. In a certain way, Thomas was his parents, mother and father. Now, about the deaconess dreaming self. As she slept soundly in the king's rankless arms, she was, in fact, the king himself. How can this be? We are all, in actuality, parts of one another. Yes, we are. But when I say the deaconess and the king were and are one another, I mean this literally. In other words, in this schematic and self-incubating time sequentiality, the two became one. Yes, the two became one. And the one became two.